Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us, San Antonio Zoo Facebook fans. My name is Justin. I am part of the animal care team here at San Antonio Zoo. I am one of our seniors, part of our Mammal One and Animal Ambassador team departments. Today, on one of our last days that we're going to do some of our Facebook Lives, we decided to bring out one of our largest animal ambassadors. Now, to give you a little hint, it has to do with using one of these. Some of you know this is a snake hook. And we have 3 of these large animals, but we brought out our oldest and probably our best one that we have here. As you guys pan down right over here, you guys will notice this is Sunny. Sunny is a 22-year-old Burmese python. Now this species is the 6th largest snake species in the world. Right now Sunny is approximately maybe 12 feet, a little more than so, in length, and maybe about 70-ish pounds, 75 pounds or so. He also did eat today, so I'm sure he's got that nice belly full right now. But this species of snake, being the 6th largest species, can reach a length of up to 20 feet long and over 200 pounds at its largest size. So, I mean, right now he's probably about 2/3 of the way fully grown, but he will continue to grow every day of his entire life. Now again, Sunny is 22 years old. He has been an ambassador pretty much his entire life. He actually came to us from another facility. And he's been doing very well with being able to come out and meet people and introduce himself to people, because honestly, there are a lot of people who are afraid of snakes. I'm sure some of you guys are tuning in are probably like, oh my gosh, they have a really big snake. Again, it's okay. We would never bring anything out here at the zoo on our ambassador team that's gonna hurt you. And Sunny's been doing this his entire life. He's a very big puppy dog. He loves coming out and meeting people, being introduced to people, and teaching people about snakes. Because when we think about a lot of our snakes, especially down here in Texas, we do have a lot of very dangerous and venomous snakes. But if you think of your size comparison to how we are to a lot of our smaller snakes, we may actually look like a very large predator. Now, when it comes to an animal like this that obviously can't really run away because they don't have any, legs or anything to be able to run, they can scoot, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But they pretty much are going to have to defend themselves. And the only way a snake can really defend itself is to try and scare and intimidate you. And the way they do that is some of those snakes will actually huff up and you'll hear them hiss very loudly. But one of the more common ones that a lot of people know of that gives that warning, basically that you're within that animal's space and you don't feel comfortable, is that rattlesnake. That rattlesnake has that warning system on its tail and lets you know, hey, I see you, I'm not comfortable with you being within that area. So please, let me be. Or I may actually cause some harm to you. Now again, those venomous species do have the ability with those teeth and those fangs to be able to strike and actually envenomate you and pretty much get you very sick, injured, or killed. So that's one thing you have to be aware of. Again, just respect those animals when you see them out in your backyard. You want to give them the space because they're out there doing probably one of the most important jobs that we have here in North America. They are one of our best forms of pest control. So if you do see some of those reptiles in your area, you're probably going to be thinking, okay, well, why is it here? You actually probably have some really good dinner that's probably going to be there for that snake. So hopefully it finds that meal, and it's able to go away from itself here. Now, Sunny being as large as he is, obviously, when they're born, they're about 18 inches long. So they're still pretty little. So what they do is they actually go straight up into a tree and they hide. They are an arboreal species. So they do climb, they do very well. That helps them be able to get away from some of those larger predators, and also have some of those smaller meals when it comes to having for a little snake to be able to eat. Now, as they get larger, that food source is obviously going to have to get bigger, so it kind of lasts them a little bit longer. So right now, all 3 of our Burmese pythons actually a 5-pound rabbit twice a month. So you have to remember, this is a cold-blooded reptile, so their metabolism depends on how warm that environment is. Now, they usually have a pretty regulated area of about 85 to 90 degrees, and you can fluctuate on either side. So if they actually just eat the meal like he did today, they'll actually go and they'll find that very warm spot, and they'll help them start digesting that meal. Now, that meal is going to take them approximately 2 weeks to digest. Now, this species of snake, at its largest size, again, of up to 20 feet long and almost 200 pounds, can consume a deer, antlers and all. Now, a lot of people oftentimes when they hear that, they're like, oh my goodness, it's going to eat me. Not the case. We are a very large prey item, yes, but we're kind of built a little differently than a lot of animals. Most animals are a little more streamlined, so they kind of go from a very narrow head, a broaden out shoulders, and then body. Whereas us, we have our heads, very skinny little neck, and then really broad shoulders. So it makes it harder for an animal like this to be able to go over that. But if it were to go over an animal that large, with a full deer, it would approximately take them a year to digest that large of a meal. So the odds of them really keeping something that large down is very slim to none, because this animal has to be able to move and walk around and move around and be able to hide if it needs to, get out of the elements if it needs to, and with an additional, 150 to 200 pound deer inside of him, they're not going to be able to move very well. It's going to leave them very vulnerable to other predators. So typically what they'll do is if they get something that big, they may try it and they're going to be, this is a little too much for me, and they're actually going to regurgitate that meal back up. And then they're going to continue on their way and try and find something that's a little smaller to keep them a little bit more mobile when it comes to being able to, hide and eat and something like that, which is really nice. So some of the cool things I love about these snakes, and one of the more important things, but one of the things I love about these snakes is how they move. You can see Sonny's kind of moving a little bit on his back end as well, but the way they move is very fascinating. On the bottom side of their skin, on their belly, so let me show you here in just a minute here. Hi there, guy. So you can notice underneath their belly. So these basically scales that go across here, these are all called scutes. And each one of those scutes is kind of its own independent muscle group. And you can see how they lift up, kind of like a fish scale does. This is what allows them to be able to climb and grip and be able to move throughout their environment. And you can see as I touch him, he actually tends to react to them. There you go. But this is how they move. So they kind of move like an accordion, which is really unique. So they kind of pull themselves forward a little bit. And then those scales will kind of grip a little bit as they're pulling back. Gives them that grip to be able to push off, and they're actually going to pull themselves forward that way. So all those muscles all the way down their body help them do that. Now, one of the funny things we always get asked is, where's its tail? Well, their tail is actually a very small portion of their body, believe it or not. So you have their head, you kind of go to their neck, and then their tail starts right about here. So this little bit here, this kind of say last foot, is one of those that is kind of the funny thing about it. It's always the one that kids love to touch and interact with when we see it, because it's the part that moves. Most of the time when you think about it, if you're a 12-foot snake and someone's touching you back there by your tail or by your bottom, you're not quite sure what's going on, so sometimes they're not overly keen of it. So we kind of give them that personal space of their head and their back tail area in order for them to be able to be interacted with. Now this species as well is one of those important animals to talk about. A lot of people do have snakes for pets. Hopefully not this species, but people do. And snakes are actually growing in popularity within the exotic pet trade. Now what is happening is these people are getting these snakes and they don't really do their research as to what that animal is going to need or require throughout its entire lifetime. Again, Sonny himself is 22. This is a species that'll average about 20 to 25 years. Longest one under the care of man lived to be about 28 years old. So a pretty good long time. But here at the San Antonio Zoo, we have one of our other animal ambassadors that is actually turning 40. She is a ball python. Now 40 years commitment for an animal like this that hopefully is going to stay in its habitat when you're not there, because snakes are very good escape artists, but it requires you to have to take care of it, to be able to pick it up and handle it and teach it how to be handled. Again, Sonny's been doing this for 22 years, so he's very accustomed to us coming in, picking him up, moving him, letting guests and stuff touch him. You have to teach them that. You have to train a snake. But that's something that we had to teach him over the years on what was appropriate and manner-wise enough for him to do that. So what's happening nowadays is people are getting these animals and they realize what it takes to get them, or they see a snake like this. This animal right here right now takes 3 people in order for us to move it. And even our larger lady who just broke over 100 pounds, it takes 4 of us to have to move her at her size now. As they continue to grow, we may have to add more people to that. But the size of their environment and home and habitat is going to have to grow as well. So once they get large enough, they may have to have something like, say, a small office or a small bedroom, just to have enough space to be able to sprawl out, get some exercise, large water dish to be able to soak their bodies into. Love playing in the water. Sometimes they're an ambush hunter when they're out in the wild and they're going to actually use that water to their advantage to push food. The heating, the humidity, some of the substrate that you see he's on right now being outside. So other things you have to think about taking care of, especially with a large animal like this. Some of your smaller snakes, again, corn snakes, king snakes, ball pythons, great snakes to have for our starter snakes. Sometimes they're very busy and active going snakes. Sometimes like your ball pythons and other pythons are very slow, calm, docile species. Tend to be very easygoing when it comes to that. They're all very fun. Just always do your research. But the biggest issue with them is this species right now is an invasive species here in the United States. You can actually find them in Florida from almost right now all the way from the Florida Panhandle all the way down to the Everglades area. Now what they believe happened is in 1992, when Hurricane Andrew went through, they believe that there were a couple of breeding facilities down in that area that actually got destroyed. And once those got destroyed, snakes are very good about being able to kind of wiggle out of small spaces, and kind of that instinctual, instinct kind of thing takes in, and they start just doing what they need to do. So they actually started going to where it was warm, where it was comfortable, what they were used to, which is more like that of the Everglades and everything else in Florida, all that tropical area. And they actually started doing naturally what they do. They started consuming the food, starting to take on other predators or other larger animals that may be in competition. So right now, this species is listed as invasive. They're actually kind of here to stay here in the United States. Now they're competing currently against the American alligator and the American crocodile and the Florida panther in order to try and create that kind of top predator spot. So they don't know where they are. They just think they're back home in Southeast Asia and Indonesia, and they're just out there doing what they naturally do. So they're taking food sources away from some of those other animals that are drastically trying to come off of that list. Again, like that Florida panther and the American crocodile are two of those animals that this species of snake is actually trying to compete with to be that top predator spot. But it's not just Burmese pythons that we're seeing down there. It's actually going to be some of your other larger snakes. We have African rock pythons are one. We have a lot of lizards, venomous snakes from other parts of the world that tend to be ones that are being introduced. Either they get out from the owner that previously had them, or the owner is done with them and they think, oh, I'm just going to let it go in my backyard and it'll be fine. But then you're creating a bigger problem by introducing a species that is not naturally found in that environment. So you tend to upset that ecosystem when it comes to that. So you guys can kind of see as Sunny's moving around, you can see he's sticking out that tongue of his. That is how snakes kind of smell their environment in a way. So you can see on the end of its fork, it's called a bifurcated tongue. It's a fancy word for a split tongue, but that aids him when he is out hunting for food, that he can actually detect direction on left or right. So inside of his mouth, when he brings his tongue in, on the top there are two holes called a Jacobson's organ. And as it brings in, it rubs up against those two little holes, sends that signal to his brain as to what he's smelling and possibly what direction it is. So it aids him in being able to hunt for that food. The other advantage he has, which is kind of on the front part below his nose, is he actually has those infrared detecting heat sensory pits that help him to be able to find that heat, that warm-blooded animal, whether it be pre-dark out or night out as well, aids him to be able to hunt for that animal, which is really something very cool. It's a pretty cool adaptation that some of these snakes have when it comes to being able to hunt for their food. They're very good at it. Now, the way they catch their food, I think, is still one of the most unbelievable things. This is a species of snake, and by average, most snakes can strike about 2/3 of their body length. So right now, he's got about a 6 to maybe 8 foot strike range when it comes to grabbing his prey. So once he's in that S position and he's hanging out and he senses that prey coming by and he's ready to roll, he's going to strike out, lunge, and grab it. Now, we oftentimes get, oh, they're going to constrict you. Not always the case. For us, that constriction is a feeding response. So once they grab their prey, it clicks into their brain that they have to hold it and wrap it and squeeze it to death. So inside of his mouth, in order to hold his food, he has over 100 backward curving teeth. They look like little fish hooks. Right now they're about 1 centimeter long. And so once they go in and they sink in backwards, it's pretty much impossible for that prey animal to be able to get out or be released unless that snake actually opens its mouth and then it kind of rolls itself in and it's able to kind of release and open itself out. So they're designed to be able to hold their prey and grab onto it. Now once they grab it, and say that animal is dead, they typically release it, but they usually take it down head first. And the way they do this is very fascinating. So they can actually stretch their jaw because they have extended ligaments on the sides. And as they do it, what they'll do is they'll actually kind of sit kind of right up next to it and nuzzle it. And as they do it, they're going to open their bottom and their top jaws. And all those ligaments that are held on the side can go in. Now snakes can open their mouth 4 times larger than the size of their head. So that once they're ready to eat, what they do is they split their top and their bottom jaws. And as they're ready to start working it down, they start going little by little, all the way down in order for them to be able to eat that food. That's how an animal like this is able to eat without having any hands or fingers or having people cut up their food for them. It makes it really easy for them to be able to kind of grip that prey and be able to work it all the way down. Now, because of how strong this species is, again, Sunny ate a 5-pound rabbit earlier today. Once it got about 1 foot down in there, their muscles got so strong and they get so strong they can press it down and you can't even see it, which is really cool. So something very fascinating about, even for the size of that prey animal that he has, that you're not going to be able to see anything like that.
We do have quite a few questions for you.
All right, questions. Let's see what
we're going to start from the top. Veronica would like to know how long they live.
So this is a species of snake that lives approximately 20 to 25 years. The longest one under the caraman lived to be a little over 28 years old. So a very long lifespan when it comes to that.
Angela would like to know why he's yellow.
Why is he yellow? That's a great question, Angela. So this is a species of snake. Typically they're going to have a lot of black, brown, tan, and green. You can see with him being yellow, he's going to kind of stand out on this lush green rainforest we have out here at San Antonio Zoo. So this is basically what we would consider an albino. So he doesn't have that pigmentation or that color to him. They're actually bred for this in the exotic pet trade. There we go. So they can actually get more money for them. But it's more exotic. It's very different. So that's why he has that yellow coloration to him. We do have to be careful with that and not overly expose him too much to the sun, because they can get sunburned without having that pigmentation in his skin. So that's something very unique about this species and about him himself, is being an albino and having that yellow coloration. They don't have that natural skin coloration, the color pigmentation to them. So he would not have survived out in the wild. If you do see one this color out in the wild, probably want to call someone, because it was most likely someone's pet and they released it out into the wild. So you definitely want to keep tabs on that and make sure that that doesn't happen. But very good question, Angela.
Do they ever change color?
Do they ever change color? No, they're always going to have their same coloration from birth throughout their entire life. Some of their pattern and scales will tend to actually grow with them as they get larger. So you kind of start seeing a little bit more of their defined patterns. Some of them have some cool, different, unique markings to them. Some of them tend to make faces, and some others make different patterns on their backs and everything. But that pattern is just like your fingerprint that you have on your hand. It's a way for us to kind of identify different snakes from one to another. But they all have different and unique patterns throughout pretty much their entire life. But they're not really going to change colors throughout their life. Great question.
How often do they shed?
Ooh, that's one of my favorite questions. So snakes when they grow, depending on how old they are and their sizing and how often they're eating, is going to determine how fast and how often they shed. A younger snake is obviously going to probably eat more, which is going to cause it to grow more, which is going to cause it to shed more. So every time they shed, they're growing just that little bit more every single time. Now on average, a lot of our snakes are about every 2 months right now. That process takes approximately about a week and a half to 2 weeks in order for it to go through that full process of, once they go cloudy and blue and their eyes tend to kind of cloud open, they can't see through it, versus them completely being done with it and it coming off like a kind of unrolled backwards sock, and it should all come off in one big piece as well. Now something unique that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to snakes, the snakes don't blink. So you can't ever tell if they're sleeping or if they're awake. They don't have eyelids. So what they'll do is, when those eyes get cloudy, once they shed them off, you'll actually have almost looks like a contact lens, but it's another clear scale that grows over their eye to help protect it from any damage, dirt, debris, water, anything you may see with that, for them to help protect their eyes. That's one of their most important assets when it comes to hunting.
How long can they get?
How long can they get? So right now, Sunny is approximately 12 feet long. At their longest, they've been roughly about 18 to 20 inches in length. And yeah, it's going to take them that entire lifetime to help get to that size.
Not inches.
Huh?
18 to 20 feet, not inches.
Yes, 18 to 20 feet. Not inches, sorry, yes. 18 to 20 feet in length.
Are they more active during the day or at night?
That's a good question. A lot of that's going to, I think, determine primarily on, where they are within either a digestive system, how warm their environment is. Typically, if it's colder, they're usually not going to be as active. They're actually going to find somewhere kind of warm and hide out until it tends to warm up temperature-wise. They will gain a lot more energy the warmer they get. It kind of speeds up their metabolism, kind of like us a little bit, so they tend to be a lot more active when it's hot. They will hunt at night as well. Again, they do have those thermal sensing pits on the front of their nose to help them find prey, as well as that great sense of smell. They still have a pretty good vision at night, but it's not going to be their strongest suit when it comes to hunting for food or anything.
Is there an easy way to tell the difference between a male and a female?
Is there an easy way? For this species, there actually is. One of the more prominent ways you would look by, so you would look kind of back here by their back end. And what you do, I'm going to let him know I'm coming up to meet him for a minute. There you go, that guy. So right back here by their back end where their cloacal opening is, you can see Sunny has these kind of big two-looking spurs. What those are called vestigial limbs. And males will use those to be able to hold on to a female for breeding. So females have them, they're actually just more tucked inside of their body. So you can't see them as well, but for males, they're more on the outside and prominent so you can see them. So that's a really good way for us to be able to tell the sex of this species is by those spurs on that back end. It's a great question. So for those of you and anyone else who's joining us right now, thank you for joining us. This handsome little devil right here, this is Sunny. Sunny is a 22-year-old Burmese python. This is the 6th largest snake species in the world. And right now it's about 12 feet long and probably around 70-75 pounds or so. And he will continue to grow every day of his entire life. Longest one under the caraman lived to be about 28 years old. So we're hopeful that was Sunny and one of our other 2 Burmese pythons that we have here at the San Antonio Zoo. We're going to be able to break that record because they're all still doing very good, growing strong. getting nice and big as well. You can see he's out here getting some exercise right now, which is really nice. So hopefully we can break that record. But again, 22 years old, about 12 feet long, and 75 pounds.
Chuck mentioned that this doesn't look like his normal habitat. So can you explain where we are and why you wouldn't normally see ambassador animals as a guest in the zoo?
So right now we're actually just giving him a little bit of an exercise session. So we will bring some of our ambassadors out to basically just be out on the grounds and explore, see the different parts of the environment and everything that we have, because as we do travel with them as well, it's a way for them to kind of be very common and used to what they're going to see out within our area. But here at the zoo, we're actually in one of our front flower bed areas. As you walk into the zoo itself, just past one of our big entry signs. So we have two big flower beds. We're actually in one of our back areas. We decided to keep him more in this shaded part because it is pretty warm today. So it's a way for him to still get some warmth and be out, get some sunshine, but a way for him to still be out longer because it is shaded, so it keeps him a little cooler for a little bit longer period of time. So they do love the heat though, so that's something very good for them. But we have to kind of monitor with him being an albino that he doesn't get exposed too long to direct sunlight because he can get sunburned very easily, so we have to be careful with that. So we'll bring them out, and you can see us sometimes while do random pop-up appearances throughout the entire zoo. A lot of different times for some of our big special events, we'll have other ambassadors out as well. We have a very large and diverse collection, but this is actually one of our largest species that we work with on our ambassador team, and they're very fun for us to be able to bring out and let people enjoy and see and touch and interact with, because it's not every day you actually get to meet one of these 6 largest snake species in the world, which is really cool.
So a few more questions. Angela would like to know what we tell people who are afraid of snakes.
What do we tell people that are afraid of snakes? I think one of my favorite questions that people always, statements I would say that people always say is, they can smell fear. Well, what does fear smell? We don't know. It's kind of how you approach and interact with the animal itself. One thing we start with when it comes to teaching people about our snakes here is, again, we're not going to bring an animal out here at the San Antonio Zoo that's going to cause any harm to you. These animals are very well trained, very conditioned to coming out, meeting people, being interacted with, touched, handled, because this is their job, is to teach people about snakes. Typically, we always promise and tell people here, you never want to pick up ones in your backyard. You always want to leave them be. So if you see something, kind of watch, see where it goes, make sure it's going somewhere that's appropriate, not say in your house. But again, this is one of our best forms of pest control that we have down here in basically Texas and across the United States. So you want to make sure that they're doing their thing, and the only thing that they're going to do, hopefully, is they're going to run away from you, because again, we are a very large possible predator to them, and we can cause a lot of harm to them. So they don't know what we're going to do as we approach them, and typically if they get scared or they feel boxed in, they're going to defend themselves. The only way they can defend themselves is they strike and they bite or at lunch or kind of intimidate you. So hopefully leave them alone. So usually if you just leave them alone out in their backyard or in their environment, they're going to leave you alone, and you pretty much both go on your merry way doing what you're supposed to be doing. So always just kind of respect them, understand them, and again, just leave them be out in the wild. Don't want to pick them up. If you see one that is more dangerous and you would like it removed, there are people to contact for that, to make sure that animal can be properly removed and relocated to a different area, hopefully away from your house or wherever you see it. But you want to make sure that you just give them that area of respect and everything. Watch them, enjoy them, but just kind of give them that space to breathe.
How often does he eat?
How often does he eat? So it kind of depends on a lot of our snakes. All 3 of our large Burmese pythons eat twice a month. So they eat, actually she just ate today as well. So what's good is you can't see the 5-pound rabbit that is sitting inside of his belly. So it's really, really cool for how strong these animals are to compress their meals, but about once every 2 months for this species of snakes.
How fast can they move?
How fast can they move? Not very. Typically your pythons are much more of a slow, calm, docile species, so they tend to move at most a couple miles an hour when they're really getting warm and cooking and moving and wanting to go. Obviously if they're in the water, they will use that buoyancy to be able to move a lot faster. Helps them be able to get away from other predators that might be in that area, but for the most part, they're not very busy or fast snakes as well. You can see how casual Sunny's kind of moving around. That's pretty common speed for a Burmese python and or most pythons and large snakes as well. So.
Veronica would like to know what a sunburn looks like on a snake like this.
It's not actually going to be any different from what it would look like on you. You're actually going to see some of the red and pink coloration within those scales from the skin. So pretty similar to what you would encounter on you yourself as well, the longer you're out within that sun unprotected.
Cassandra would like to know if we're concerned that he will slither away while we're out and if he's fast.
So again, they're not very fast species of snakes. That's why we actually have a couple other spotters around us as well while we have him out. But we're not super concerned with him going, again, very fast anywhere. Also, it's kind of hard to lose a 12-foot yellow snake here within the San Antonio Zoo. So it would take a long time for us to have to keep our eyes off of him for him to be able to escape or anything. So we're going to keep him. Again, he's under great care of all of us. We have definitely 4 of us out here, specialist-wise, who work with this snake. So if one of us tends to lose track on him or gets distracted talking to a guest or educating a guest, we want to make sure that that other person is kind of keeping tabs on that. So see, he's kind of, looks like he's going to try and go explore now. He's like, hey, what's over here in this tree in this bush? I'm going to go hide. But no, they're not very quick. He's just very common about hanging out. He likes to just hang out in one little spot and just mosey around.
You have had one person donate so far. Is there any way in particular that our viewers can help support animals like Sunny and other animals here at the zoo?
That's a great thing. First of all, I want to say thank you for those who have donated to us on our emergency fund here for the San Antonio Zoo. We appreciate it. Any of that help does go towards helping us take care of all of our animals here in the zoo, whether it be our bears, our elephants, rhinos, hippos, even our smaller snakes and other birds and stuff as well. So we thank you guys very much. For those of you who would like to further help the San Antonio Zoo, you can always visit our webpage at www.sazoo.org. There's links on there to help us donate to our emergency fund. And for those of you who may have actually followed us on Facebook and or have seen on our webpage, we are starting this weekend our drive-through zoo. It is currently sold out for this weekend, but it is going through May 17th, where you can actually stay in your vehicle, stay nice and safe, and actually come through the zoo and see a lot of our animals that you would normally see on every single day, eventually that you would come here to the zoo. But you can stay in the safety of your car with your friends and family. So if you'd like to purchase tickets to that, please definitely visit us at the San Antonio Zoo website. You can purchase tickets for any given day. Again, this weekend is sold out. So we thank you for those who have actually purchased those tickets and are going to come see us this weekend. We're very excited to see you guys back here at the San Antonio Zoo. So hopefully we can get other normal operations going again, so we can have everybody coming back to the zoo. But this is a good way for people to still come in and visit us and say hi to the zoo itself and the animals as well. So we're very excited to see everyone starting tomorrow. So we thank you guys very much for joining us today on this lovely, warm, sunny, bright Thursday. Sunny. Again, this is Sunny, our Burmese python. So we thought we'd give him a little more time out here to exercise. There you go. Now he's stretching out. You can see how long he is. He's not balling up in a little ball. But we thank you guys very much for joining us here today. And hopefully we will see you guys come into the zoo very soon. Enjoy your day and have a good one. Take care. Stay safe.